Big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. What's up guys? In today's video we're going to go through the basics of the barbell deadlift. So we're going to go through the common mistakes which people make. We're going to go through which muscle groups we're trying to target, different variations of the lift which you could potentially do, pretty much everything to do with the barbell deadlift. Before we rush into anything too quickly, you're going to do a test, okay? We're going to see if you can neutralize your spine when you're in the bent over position. Because if you can't do this, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to do it with additional resistance on top, and you're going to do damage to your lower back, okay? So what I want you to do, probably do it standing next to a mirror side on so you can see what it is that you're doing. You're just going to bend over and keep your spine straight, okay? So your spine should be completely straight. You'll feel a bit of a pull on your hamstrings when you do this. You're going to push your hips back, maybe push your lower back in ever so slightly and go down as low as you can, okay? If you can do this, then it's all good. We can progress to the next stage of adding additional resistance. First things first, you need to get your feet in the right position before you do anything. My recommendation is that you have your feet shoulder width apart and toes pointing forward. So let me show you why having your feet positioned wider and your toes pointing out is going to be an issue. As you can see already, my knees are tempted to point into my elbows, and this is only going to be exaggerated throughout the lift. Okay, so I'll come up and look, knees are pointing my elbows out. So I'm just going to point my feet forward. Knees are only going to go backwards and forwards. They shouldn't go out to the side. The next thing you need to decide is your hand positioning. My recommendation would be to have your hands round about shoulder width apart, maybe slightly wider. You don't want to go too wide because it's just going to be an issue when it comes to getting down to the bottom part of the movement. You're going to have to go much deeper if your hands are wider. That's if you're going all the way to the ground. Once you've got yourself into position and you're at the right depth, you are then going to keep your shoulders retracted, okay? So you're going to pull them back and keep them fixed. As you can see, my spine is neutral. In this position, you can see that my hands are placed directly underneath my shoulders. You don't want to be in a situation where you're like that, trying to pull up, okay? So you're going to swing backwards and forwards, which is going to cause injury, okay? So as we get into position, sink down, keep your shoulders back. I'm going to lean back ever so slightly, so there's tension throughout my entire body, and I'm going to drive hard with my legs. Now when you do this exercise, your mind is going to have a lot of power and it's going to dictate which muscles are going to do the work, okay? So if you just have the intention of pulling the weight up, okay, if you think I need to pull this bar up, you're going to over-engage your lower back, okay? But you want to use your lower body to assist with the movement. This is a full body movement. You need to remember that. Once I've reset the bottom, I'm going to drive hard into the ground with my legs. I'm going to use my legs to initiate the movement. Then, when I'm about halfway up, I'm going to think about thrusting forward and pulling up, okay? One of the most common mistakes I see people doing is not keeping their spine straight, okay? Their spine is bending as they perform the movement. This is going to cause injury if you keep doing this, especially with heavy weight, okay? So you've completely forgotten the first point of this video, which was to keep your spine neutralized throughout the movement. So it's more than likely you just have to lower the weight and master the basics with a lighter weight. There's no rush to go as heavy as possible, believe it or not. I don't know why everyone seems to think about doing their 1 rep max as quickly as they possibly can, okay? No, if you're a beginner, you're a long way from doing your 1 rep max. You need to master doing 10 to 12 rep maxes with a very basic weight before you can gradually increase the weight and lower the rep range. The second mistake people make is hyperextending at the top. So once they've reached the top of the movement, they then lean back and overextend, which again is going to cause injury to the lower back and is simply unnecessary. Another mistake I see people make is failing to keep their shoulders retracted, okay? They don't have the strength to keep their shoulders back, which again increases the risk of injury in your shoulders. And I'll also see quite a lot of people as well just jerking at the bottom of the movement. So they'll lose the tension, go down a little bit, and then they'll just jerk backwards and forwards, which is almost like you're just trying to pull your arm out of your socket, which is something you really don't want to do. It's not going to help you lift any heavier, believe me. If you're wearing some typical running shoes, you're probably not going to be in the most stable position during that lift. You'll be rocking backwards and forwards, which is particularly dangerous if you're lifting a heavy weight. So if you need to, just take your shoes off and do it barefoot, or I suppose it'd be better if you actually bought some proper weightlifting shoes in the first place. If you're a beginner to doing the deadlift or you're not quite confident with doing the lift itself, I would recommend keeping the weight as light as possible. It might even be worth using some platforms to elevate the bar off the ground just a little bit. This tends to make it easier for those who aren't quite as flexible or who really struggle at the bottom part of the movement. From a personal standpoint, I like to use wrist straps. It's not that I have particularly weak wrists. The problem is, when you're focusing so much attention onto keeping your posture correct and engaging the proper muscles, if you're then suddenly thinking, oh crap, I'm gonna drop the bar, my grip is slipping, then that's when you'll lose concentration, and often is when you tend to injure yourself. A lot of people injure themselves because they just lose that concentration. There's a number of other variations of the deadlift which you can do, which is not to be confused with this traditional bent knee deadlift. You have the sumo deadlift, where you have your feet positioned much wider and your hands closer together. This tends to place more tension on the hamstrings and the glutes and a little bit less tension on the lower back. There's also the variation of doing the constant tension deadlift. So this is basically where you're not resting at all during the set, okay? You will either perform the top 2/3 of the repetition, or you will come just a couple inches short of reaching the ground. Is there any advantages to doing this? Yes, if you want to focus on time under tension, but it's not necessarily superior to doing the traditional deadlift. So there we go, guys. I hope this tutorial has been of some assistance to you. This is probably one of the most complex exercises, and one which causes a lot of injuries, particularly to the lower back area. And it's often because people are just lifting too heavy and they haven't mastered the basics. So keep it light, master the basics, initiate the movement with your legs, okay? This is a full body movement. Don't just put all the stress and strain onto your lower back. Keep that spine neutral and keep the movement slow and controlled, okay? Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Big thank you once again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. I've been using Squarespace to create and run my online business for over a year now, and I couldn't be more satisfied with the services they offer. One of the main reasons I chose Squarespace was because of the ease of use and some of the templates which have been created by top designers. These templates have been designed to work on a number of different devices, so I need my website to look as good as possible, and I need it to function properly, and I need people to be able to navigate through the website itself when they're on their mobile phones. If you want to go and see what they're all about and whether or not they can help you create your own website, follow the link in my description and you'll be able to get 10% off any order which you place.